Well, we're here tonight to look at an initiative going forward that's vital, given the state of the world as it is, and we have a lot of forward-thinking people in this room. And the world needs forward-thinking people. We're really standing in the epitome of a clean energy operation. What Mark Ritchie's doing in this business is exemplary, not even just in Newburyport, in the world. So Mark's going to share some things about what he's done and why this operation is so significant.
Well, thank you, Art, and thanks to everyone for coming here and supporting this program, ACES. I just heard about it for the first time when Art called me up about, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I was very excited by it. I think we all really need to do what we can do in our personal lives, in our business lives, in our community lives to be the best stewards of the environment that we can, because we are at, I think, a moment of existential crisis on our planet. And so I think we have to stop talking about, what's going to happen and just start acting. And so this is a great start in our community, and I thank you, Art, for organizing it and for everybody for being involved and for being leaders in this movement that we all need to be a part of. So I'm going to just tell briefly a little bit the story about who we are, and I'm here with my wife, Teresa. We are partners and co-founders of Mark Ritchie Woodworking. That's Teresa Ritchie there. And we started this company about 40 years ago in the basement of my Malden apartment. One-man woodworking operation, and we've grown into one of the larger woodworking operations on the eastern seaboard. So what we do here is architectural woodworking. It's a fancy name for custom woodworking, but we work in some of the most prestigious and large high-end offices, commercial spaces, corporate offices, performing arts centers, museums across the country. So we make it right here in Newburyport, and we ship it all over the country and even overseas where we install it. And we're very proud of what we do. We employ about 100 people under this roof here. We are a woman and minority-owned business enterprise as well. Teresa is majority owner of the company, and we're very proud of that. We hire a very diverse workforce. We have a wonderful internal apprenticeship programs where we bring in young people who are either just graduating from high school or maybe have some college and are looking to learn a trade and are interested in architecture or woodworking, and we build our workforce that way. So it's very difficult to find people who know who are trained in what we do, because we don't, unfortunately, in this country, we haven't kept up with our trades programs as well as we should have, in my opinion. So we decided to build our own internal apprenticeship program. It's worked really well. When we moved to this shop, we made a commitment as a company, and me personally, that we were going to be as best stewards of the environment as we could be. And we were going to make that not just something we would sort of make a commitment to 1 year or 2 years, but it was going to be one of our main mission, part of our main mission statement here. So we looked at this old facility that had been abandoned and was derelict. It was the old Owens, Illinois building, for the people who live here and know what it was. It was a blow mold manufacturing facility. It made plastic bottles, basically. And it had gone out of use because it was old and outdated. And no one really wanted this building. It was just too big and it was in disrepair. But we looked at it and said, this would be perfect. So we renovated the building as opposed to building a new building. And so we gave new life to this building. And during the renovation, we were looking at it to how can we ultimately become a company that produces 100% of our power, and we use a lot of power. We have a lot of motors, if you were to tour our plant, that are like this around, like huge 100 horsepower motors. So we said, we use a lot of power here. how could we become a company that produces all their energy right here? The technology was certainly there. It would be expensive, and there was a lot of things to learn, but we dove in, and let me tell you, we have learned an awful lot over the last 20 plus years since we've been here in Newburyport. I can't believe we've been here 20 years now, but roughly 20 years ago we moved here. And we started with biomass technology. So we generate a huge amount of wood and material waste, which normally would end up in landfills. And so the first thing we did, in fact, Teresa and I had seen plants in Europe. We had toured European wood shops. And every shop we went to, every single one, you wouldn't have dreamed of discarding this very valuable energy in their wood waste. But in this country, most of it just goes to landfills, where it degrades and gives off the carbon. So the first thing we did is we took the silos that were used to hold the plastic resin and converted them for wood waste storage. And we installed a biomass furnace that came from Germany, and we basically heat up a hot water loop that circulates around this entire building and heats all of the woodworking space and a good deal of our air makeup as well. So you get about 90% of the heat for this entire facility from our what would be just waste product. And that's what we call a net zero green energy. So it does add carbon, but in the same timeline, it's extracting that carbon because you have to grow a tree. And if you don't extract the energy, it's going to release the carbon anyway. So it's a good, in other words, if we were to power our entire planet from net zero fuel, there would be no increase in carbon on the planet. The difference with fossil fuels is that when we burn fossil fuels, we're unlocking all that carbon that's been sequestered in the earth for millions of years. So in a very, very narrow timeline. So that's the difference. But so that was our first green initiative, and it's been running beautifully. So next slide. And they're out of sequence here. So solar was our third initiative here. We have 80,000 square feet of solar panels on the roof. It produces about 40% of our electricity demand. And solar, I could talk a lot about it. I won't, but it's really the easiest, and it's really a no-brainer right now. The cost of PVs have come down so much that it's crazy that pretty much every industrial building doesn't have solar panels on their flat roofs. That's the perfect place for them, by the way, in my opinion. I really don't like to see these huge green fields covered with solar panels, because although it's good, but at the same time you are covering all that green space, and there's that oxygen production that you're reducing. So, but our paved areas and our rooftops are the absolute best place, in my opinion, to put solar. And in most cases, we're looking at 2 to 5 years payback, even on a residential. Wind was our first, before we did the solar, we did the wind turbine. And the wind turbine has been a great producer. We produce about 60% when it's operating of our electrical demand here. It's a 600 kilowatt wind turbine. It was a huge adventure into technology for us. Wind turbines are very complicated. They are not for the faint of heart. Fortunately, we know machines here, so we know how to run them and maintain them. In our case, we had to go to the town. Many of you probably know the story. It was 14 public hearings later, getting through the ordinance process, and then the permit process took about a year and a half. We finally got the permit. The turbine was a Belgian design, built in India. It's been an excellent energy producer, but It is also no longer supported because both the company that designed it and manufactured it are both out of business. And so we are now the last surviving Elecon 600 left in North America. And we actually, it's a problem, frankly, because it's like having a car, but nobody makes the parts or knows how to fix it. And so we've had to do a lot of that ourselves. We actually have to make parts for it sometimes if we can't find replacement parts. And so we are looking at hopefully finding a replacement turbine that will, the nacelle that will fit on top of the existing tower. And that's our hopes, so that we can continue this great form of wind energy here in the Newburyport area. And there's the biomass furnace. So these are the silos that were originally designed for the plastic resin. We converted them into storing our wood waste. This is our dust collection system. And I think there might be one more slide on that. Well, and before I talk about that slide, I just want to say that in addition to these three, fairly big renewable energy endeavors we've undertaken, we've also tried to find every possible way to save and recycle within our company. And those are actually the things that every company can and should do, and are sort of the first steps to becoming better stewards, by just looking at how much waste you create every week, for example, and saying we want to create half of that. And so, for example, we don't have disposable plates and cups in here. I mean, it's a small thing. We're trying to become, but it adds up. We don't, we're trying to reduce paper copies and go electronic as much as possible. And we have a lot of other plans for the future. We really research all our packaging materials so that they're coming from recycled materials, but they're also recyclable and that we can reuse them. And so all these things, they add up. And the goal is to produce less waste, recycle more, reuse more, and get as much of your energy from renewable as possible. And 3 years ago, we looked out at our beautiful wild fields that we have in the back, and we've been mowing them. And I said we should stop mowing them, and we should encourage bees. In fact, we encourage the bees by building a small apiary. We have 12 hives out there, and we produce about 40 gallons of honey a year, which we give to our employees and our customers. And we're very happy about that. I do most of the beekeeping, and it's been a lot of fun. And so anyway, last slide. I just want to finish up. For some of you may know that I'm an avid mountain climber and rock climber. I'm as passionate about climbing and being in wild places as I am about woodworking, really. I've climbed all over the world, and it's through that experience with nature and seeing these wild places and knowing them that has really, I think, inspired me to want to be a better steward of the environment and to take care of this planet, because we only have one, and it's such a precious thing. And I have seen, as Teresa and I, we've traveled, have seen the degradation of our planet firsthand, and it is extraordinary. Huge glaciated areas that no longer exist, and cities that are mountain cities that are so dry now they're deserts, because the glaciers that once were there and fed them water no longer exist. And we've just seen these incredible storms and wildfires and flooding, and it certainly is in part created by human activity. So I think, we all know the realities of climate change, and I think we owe it to our children, to our grandchildren, to the next generations, to do everything we can to do the right thing and be better stewards of our environment. So,
All right.
I'm sorry if I went on a little long, but
Hey, you told a great story, because we all have to be able to tell stories. I'd like to introduce Haley Harris, who put this whole presentation together, who's going to talk to you about the graphic that you have, as well as what some of her observations.
All right, hi, I'm Haley. So this is the graphic that I made. There was a printout over there, and I know it's on the tickets you guys have. And so I just wanted to point out a few things on it. So the bus is kind of representing the fact that we all need to be in this together, and that in order to have progress, we can't do this alone. And so the goal is to kind of get us all on the bus and let's all get moving towards a more sustainable community. Yeah, so Art and I worked on this together for probably about a month. It took a long time, but we're very proud of it.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm James Davenport. I'm a senior at Endicott College and I play on the hockey team. And sort of where I have my hand in, I have my hand in two pots right now. One is on the fundraising side and one is on the social media side. So when it comes to fundraising, I'll be researching places that have given us grants and donations in the past. And I'll also be furthering that research to find new opportunities for ACES so we can collect enough money to complete the initiatives that we've been trying to accomplish. And then my role in social media is we've put together a pretty solid team with Sam, Danny, Hayes helping us out as well, where we're going to, and running with John, where we're going to be revamping ACES social media, starting with the Instagram and the Facebook. And what we're really trying to do is zone in on different target market audiences and find out what posts are really reaching them and what are they engaging with. And we have all sort of metrics that we can run, and Sam's really good with that stuff, so he's gonna be helping us there. And yeah, hopefully when this starts like really going and going, then I can leverage the social media use into finding more opportunities for fundraising as well.
It's very important, of course, with social media to keep things really up to date, and I'm personally terrible at that. For example, Facebook still thinks I have friends. My 10-year-long partner, she commented to me 3 weeks ago, John, why am I not mentioned on your Facebook page as, why aren't you in a relationship? So I changed that, and I got all these congratulations. Anyway.
Hi, I'm Anthony Marks. I'm co-president of the NHS Environmental Club. Let me get out my big speech here. So our club is entirely student-run with an advisor present at all the meetings, as well as our events and activities to help guide and support what we, the students, want to accomplish. The students are all volunteers, and no credits or grades are involved in the club's endeavors. Some of our past accomplishments include collecting button batteries from the area for a number of years, which gives us $1,000 per year, and we use that money to provide a scholarship, an annual scholarship to a deserving senior. We have also, a few years ago, we also received a grant of $4,000 from the Institution for Savings, and we use that money to build water bottle fillers in the high school to try to limit the use of plastic bottles and try to move towards reusable metal water bottles.
This is me in a dumpster of food. This was this summer. As Art just said, I've done a lot of work since almost 10 years ago with Climate Cafe, Sherry Melto. I know a lot of you here. Right now I work on Star Island on the Isles of Shoals, and I do commercial composting, wastewater, fresh water through reverse osmosis. But I've sort of been mixing together Climate Cafe stuff and getting youth voices heard, in addition to doing my own farm work and physical outdoor work, along with work on the refuge when I was younger. And yeah, I think I wanted to include this just as I think it's important to roll up our sleeves and actually do the work, because, for example, with Climate Cafe we have conversations, but it's important to also then get outside and do something, especially with students, but especially intergenerationally. So thanks for having me.
All right.
I'm Ron Martino. I'm a ACES advisor. Been involved from the beginning. Been around Newburyport for quite a while doing environmental stuff. Right now, I've focused along with Art on communication of the middle of our pillars, which is the environment. And our platforms are tools for all of you. One of them is our weekly column of the Daily News. The Daily News in 2018 gave us space every Friday, or challenged us to do something every Friday, and we've hit the mark every Friday. So 300 articles later, starting with storm surge in the original article, we've been covering topics across the board. And one of the old movies a few years ago was Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know if you remember that movie, you know, kind of crazy sci-fi kind of thing. But it's a good metaphor for the environment, because the environment is everything from trees to bees. You know, we could probably do some rhyming slang with some of those things. You know, it's plastics and it's pollinators. It's all of those things that are all over the map. So ACES in a way tries to function as an entity that displays all of those various aspects, because there are specialized groups here in the room who do the good things that need to be done to get the work done. And so that's it. So the weekly columns has been good. Our web page has been renovated. It needs another renovation. Show of hands, who wants to work on the web page for the next set of corrections and improvements. And we have a newsletter, probably 740 or so people who get it every month, and it's a combination of postings that might have shown up in the Daily News, but also short articles, international announcements, short videos, and a couple of people, some of them here in the room, pull together a calendar every all along the way, and we try to publish that calendar as well. So those are 3 platforms. Now, I would give it a B-. We're good for persistence because it's been showing up and doing it, and that's half of what it takes in life, showing up, right? So it's glad you're all here. But we really need to expand to the social media thing. We really need to modernize. I mean, you know, I'm a retired guy. I don't know how to do all that stuff. Tony knows how to do that stuff. You know how to do that stuff. We need to move forward with that. So if anybody wants to raise their hand, we have those platforms in place. We have some of the mechanics. We'd love to have you be part of the team. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
It is a matter of constant communication, and it's a matter of creating an Instagram that's what we're starting with now. An Instagram that people really want to follow, keep it active, keep all kinds of lively, emotional, even about climate change, keep the attention of the public. And a lot of the focus is right now on young people. That's where we're starting. We're talking about, you know, how to attract the high school students, the college students. We're talking about the different ways of building our audience by connecting with other groups, both in Newburyport and other places around the United States and even the world, who will promote our websites and our media pages. So these guys are very, very active in helping doing that. We're in the brainstorming stage, but by the time Earth Month comes up, we will be up and running full speed, and we'll be covering all of that as well. Thank you.
When you look at 2050, does anybody know what percentage of our waste we have to reduce between now and 2050? Not you, one. Molly, what's the percentage?
90%.
90%. Can you imagine that? And Molly's in charge of it. So we've got to give her help.
Basically, we initiated this program we had discussions in September, we kicked it off in October, and the intent is to turn the facility into a zero waste facility, which includes training all of the people that use the facility, both during the day, which are mostly seniors, and then after hours, which are outside people, community people who rent the operation. And the key elements that we saw was we had an active facility, engaged users, and committed staff. Those were three ingredients that we saw in pushing this project. And our focus has been on food and plastic as 2 waste streams to attack. The food waste collection, we developed a campaign called Drop a Bag, Get a Bag, where we made it convenient for the users to come to the center get a 1-gallon compostable Ziploc bag that they could take home, collect all their food waste, and the next time they come, and most of them are there every other day or every day, drop that bag at the center. We also expanded the community drop-off point by having another container right outside, which is convenient also to the Bresnahan parents who are also working with their youngsters and students to collect waste, and at some point in time, we hope to get them to use that. So convenient, affordable, and we played upon the fact that, let's face it, as youngsters, we all collected things. We collected newspapers, we collected papers, we collected a lot of different things. Our parents did that, so it didn't become something that was new to them. It was something that they were familiar. And so far, since we started in October, we started with that first month of 175 gallons for the month of October, and now we're into 300 gallons per month of waste that we're collecting. And we've got, obviously, goals higher than that going forward. The second campaign was plastic, reduce the use of plastics. We can't eliminate plastic, but we want to make a conscious effort to, if there is an alternate use for plastic, to use it and do that. And eventually we're working with the community leaders. We're going to designate that facility as no single-use plastic facility. That's coming on board. We talked to Christina Manning, who's our coordinator for the rental of the facility after hours, and we're going to expand that plastic concept to the after hours programs as well. And the other thing we're doing is we're working with HSPAN, which is an organization that provides Meals on Wheels. Currently, they're Meals on Wheels, and they're the biggest disseminators of Meals on Wheels in Massachusetts. 4,000 meals a day is what they have. We're working with them to convert that plastic trays that the food comes in into either compostable or biodegradable. And the other little thing that we're doing from Sarah's efforts is replacing plastic cups. We have a great coffee stand, best coffee cup in town, and we're converting those to cleanable, reusable cups, basically. So that's our effort. It's an ongoing effort. It's a pleasure working with Sarah, our champion. And what we're finding is that it's really an education process and retraining process. People don't know where to put things, and we have to find visual aids, find information. We got to coach them. When we have a group of ambassadors, and we have one of our ambassadors, here she is right there, Nikki. We have 3 senior ambassadors whose role is to walk around when meals are being occurred, teach people, engage people, find out ways to turn them on to, doing the right thing. And that's our progress. We started this whole discussion about reducing the use. And we talked about using the facility as a model that could be developed and expanded so that other facilities in the community or other places. And we developed this little sketch here. The center is the facility, the senior users, and the community users. Those are what we targeted. And they're all working together to develop this model of how reduced waste could be done. The support staff, we have services, the custodians who collect all the tasks. And by the way, the custodians are measuring every week how much we collect. We have a little way for them to measure that, and that's how our statistics are correct. Black Earth Compost, who picks up all of the food waste and turns it into compost. HSPAN, which is a big user, big component of the senior center. Those are our services. The partners, Resiliency Committee, ACES, and City Sustainable Office, all helping us identify what we should be doing and how should we do it. The people, Youth Corps, we had one of our ambassadors was a college graduate. She's now got a full-time job, so she doesn't have time for us. Our Newburyport high school folks, and ambassadors. And then the other one is education. We'll talk more about that. This is workshops and seminars. That's all part of the model that we're trying to develop that can be expanded and used in other facilities. As an offshoot to that, and as our endeavor to really get people educated, because that's really what it is. With Sarah's help, once again, she donated an hour and a half, the first Wednesday of every month in the program, in the timeline of the center, to create a community echo conversation. And really, we want to spark the conversation among all the community people. And so far, we've had 5 conversations, and on every conversation, it's anywhere from 20 to 30 people that attended. So far, we've had 56 different individuals who have partaken of these conversations. So our list of getting the word out to them every month is about 56 emails. The key thing is that we want to not only share thoughts, resources, information, personal stories, concerns, but we want to spark the conversation up and lift community spirits to say, yeah, we can do it. We can do something positive. And the bottom line is a call to action for all of us to do something different, and every little bit counts. We all come together, it becomes a bigger accomplishment. We have a March conversation is sustainable and responsible gardening. One of our presenters is there, Molly. Thank you for coming. And in April, we're going to have 2, one in the day and one in the evening. And it's going to be clean energy, sustainability, and youth achievements. Those are going to be the general topic. And we're going to have a group that facilitates conversation and develops a good program. We're just developing that.
Hi, I'm Ron Hockmeister. I'm one of the founders of ACES and Storm Surge before that, so we've been around. Art and I've been working on it together for about maybe 12 years. What I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've been holding these, for the last couple of years, we've been holding these, not a career day, but bringing our allies into the high school and letting the kids see what businesses are out there, giving them opportunities to see what summer jobs might be around. And this year we changed it around a little bit, and we focused it more on getting the allies and other organizations to come and talk with the kids, but letting them know that, let's say you want to get into a green business or a green career, you don't have to have a PhD or a master's degree in science. You could be an accountant. You could work in a green department at some company. So most companies these days have opportunities. So we held our organization, and what do we have, like 17, 18 different groups that came in and had their tables. The kids went for in the auditorium, had a little presentation. The mayor gave a talk. A number of people talked about sustainability and green careers in the future. And then they were dismissed and then came in and actually had an opportunity to talk to the organizations, the businesses, and they got to tell them about opportunities that they can do, careers they could get into. So all the kids that came, well, we had all the participants, so all the businesses and organizations filled out a survey. How are we doing? How did this work? What can we do better? Because we're going to do it again next year. Likelihood of would you return? 77% of the people said it was likely or very likely that they'd want to participate next time. And the rest of them, we had nobody said no. We did have the rest of them fill in the category that was, it depends on how busy we are next year. The students' responses were really neat. So we had the 2 phases, the one where the introductory thing where they got to hear people talking, and then the others when they actually got to talk to the businesses themselves. 75% of the people that came into the big thing went to the introductory. So we actually got more talking to people than we did come to listen to the speakers. But the event in the cafeteria was rated 4 or 5, which is good. And the event itself, out with all the organizations, was 4 out of 5. But the students, this is what I was really interested in. The students were impressed with the breadth of the information provided. In other words, what we're trying to say is, there's all kinds of opportunities to do green stuff, right? You could do it in businesses. You don't have to have a PhD in biology to do this. So the breadth of opportunities out there, and they were impressed seeing the community coming together to help students. Remember last year, or a couple of years ago, we had that girl that wrote the article for the paper? She was just, she said, I can't believe that the community is coming together to help us.
Why are we putting this up here? I mean, because the students are the future. What we're doing is really, in terms of sustainability, looking out for their welfare, their well-being. It's on our heads. And the school is now looking at what those careers are that we spoke about, that Mark spoke about in terms of what's happening here. Ron just mentioned it. I want to acknowledge Frank Arena, who has been a person going around the world talking about sustainability for elevating the awareness of what's happening here with respect to sustainability and what it's really all about. It is not confined to environmental science in our great marsh or our water supplies of the Merrimack River. It's way more comprehensive. AI jobs are number one in growth rate. Number two, sustainability-based occupational and career opportunities. So, for a little context on what happens with the people that aren't going to be environmental scientists or engineers, there's a new program called the Environmental Innovation Pathways. John Elwell is going to share his perspective on the importance of this program.
I am so excited about this new program, and it probably because I've been in schools and education for 90% of my life. So, so I typed out something so I would know when to stop talking about this. The Massachusetts Innovation Career Pathways Program is a new and very valuable program for Newburyport High School where tradition and innovation converge. Dr. Aaron Hobbs and Andy Wolf, the principal, have been instrumental in leading the new Pathways program. The Pathways are designed to give the students coursework and experience in a specific high-demand industry such as information, technology, engineering, healthcare, life science, and advanced manufacturing. Currently, Newburyport High School is offering an environmental innovation pathways program with life sciences being another goal for a pathway in the future. The Pathways program is a 9 through 12 course sequence designed to create strong collaborative relationships with employers and community partners. The thing I like about it is bringing the schools and the community together. The environmental pathway encompasses skills, development, and project-based learning for environmental careers, which are expanding and essential for our earth and world. An environmental advisory board was established earlier this school year to support this Pathways program and assist in connecting with local employers and community partners to help provide collaborative, real-life experiences for our students. ACES is proud to be a member of that advisory board. The high school has formed industry partnerships already with the Gulf of Maine, Greater Newburyport Chamber of Commerce, the Audubon, City of Newburyport Water and Wastewater Treatment Facilities, Parker River Wildlife Refuge, and again with ACES.
It's the experience that's so vital, because while we get knowledge and a lot of information because of the school providing that educational experience, having the reality of hands-on goes a long way. And that's what the innovation program is really all about, the pathway. So what's evolving now in terms of next things that can happen that you can be involved in? Because needless to say, you can see that these are based upon participation throughout the environmental and stewardship world. I mean, what Rick's doing with livable streets, what Elizabeth has done with Transition Newburyport, what Sandra's done with small small actions and big ideas. It's all part of this. So if you would come up then and share what's happening next in a couple months.
Okay, a few more projects that I'm involved in. Coming up in April, we've got an activity going, Earth Month and Day celebration. And my co-leader from last year, Elizabeth here, did a wonderful job getting all of our allies over 17, had a good program, had music and everything. It was a wonderful event. This year, to change it a little bit and also not to interfere with another program I'll be talking about next, we decided that our theme is going to be recognizing youth in our communities. Notice communities, double, because we expect to, and we are in the process of reaching out to Amesbury, to Salisbury, to Newbury, West Newbury. That's 5, okay. And Newburyport.
Newburyport.
But anyways, what we want to do is spotlight youth activities, accomplishments, concerns, and views. Focus on climate and environmental issues related to sustainability. As I mentioned, we're reaching out to all of them, and in those communities, we're inviting youth organizations, schools, scout organization, youth services, and some of us have already made contacts with these organizations. And between next week and the week after, we hope to connect everybody so that we can see what they want to offer, and based on that, we'll develop the program. We've already issued kind of a preliminary calendar of events for the month of April, and official Earth Day is celebration is going to be Saturday the 19th here, and hopefully we'll be able to spotlight a lot of those activities that the youth in those communities are undertaking. I'm also involved, as well as a number of other people. We have a steering committee of 13 various people from various backgrounds working on developing the programs for Green Expo 2025. The last time Green Expo was made was 2019. We're very excited with this year. We've got grant money to put this off. We've been able to hire some event planners, and we've got a lot of good things going on. Basically, it's going to be Sunday, May 18th from 1 to 4 on the campus of the Senior Community Center, Bresnahan Elementary School, and that area between that whole area. We'll have city infrastructure tours and demonstrations, evening film at the firehouse. We spotlight various career paths for visitors and students through all of the exhibitors that are going to participate. By the way, we've invited over 100 exhibitors to participate, and we expect a fairly good representation there. And about 40 of them are nonprofit organizations, like most of what we have here. Basically, the Green Expo supports climate resiliency, zero waste, and net zero carbon objectives that the city has. And we have, like I mentioned earlier, a committee of 13 steering members, and we meet every 2 weeks to discuss the plans and where we stand and things like that.
I'm going to mostly read too. It's not that I don't know when to stop, it's that I'm a horrible extemporaneous speaker. So I'm part of a 3-person subcommittee, and we've really just started a month or so ago, but our goal is to expand the ACES recognition program. Because up until now, it's recognized youth, but we want to expand that into the adult world. So we're working on establishing categories for some sort of awards and recognition on an annual basis. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, who's been very helpful. We were eager to find out their categories that they use, and they sent me, they have 14 pages of categories. We are not going to do all of those, but we're going to do some of them. But I know the Chamber has categories for churches, government, businesses, all kinds of entities, and environmental organizations. So that doesn't mean that all those entities in Newburyport belong to the Chamber, of course. That leaves the subcommittee with the task of locating organizations we'd like to reach that are not members of the Chamber. All suggestions from any of you on the names of such organizations, please see me and tell me. We envision a series of annual awards, possibly tied to Earth Day, and we hope that will happen this year. The goals of this initiative are to acknowledge those who are putting environmental values and actions into their everyday operations of their organizations. I mean, it's kind of like what Mark talked about earlier. These acknowledgements will not only reward those entities, but will also serve to encourage other organizations to do the same, as well as demonstrate that environmental values and goals really matter. The program will also, we hope, serve to increase public awareness and participation. We'll be planning on how to solicit applications if applications turns out to be the best route to finding recipients, or generally how to get the word out about this new program. And therefore, any and all ideas about this are very welcome. We're really feeling our way at this point, but we think it has great possibilities. And this is a slide that shows the awards as they are presently have been given. Thank you.
Well, here are the natural resources that we want to protect. And needless to say, this includes forests, precious metals, land resources, natural gas, animals, water. So how do we take care of that? I mean, just think of the work that Joppa Flats is doing and the refuge is doing in the protection of birds and wildlife. It's great work. We want to amplify that. So various programs can do that as what we are undertaking. And in terms of another program that's around plastic, let me have the next slide if you would. There was an eco conversation, there's 3 of those eco conversations embedded plastic, the concern that people have about plastic into them. Because we've got plastic on our brains now, it's really horrible. But at the point of the arrow of dealing with waste and plastics is a program that's going to be relaunched because Molly and her team have completed phase 1 of Towards Zero Waste. Now we have to go to phase 2 to reflect what I just talked about with 90% reduction by 2050. Monumental.
As I mentioned earlier, we've been having initial conversation, Molly and us, on what's the next step after what we have so far. Towards Zero Waste Program Phase 2 is a comprehensive approach to waste reduction. We have very much a challenge, and basically it's an effort to support city efforts outlined in the master plan that was developed back in 2019. And making community aware of Newburyport's goals of the master plan by becoming net zero energy community by 2050. That's been the city's goal. Working towards also the Mass State Zero Waste goal of 45% reduction in waste by 2030 and 90% by 2050. So that's quite a challenge. Every community is faced with the same thing. We hope to engage many stakeholders, individuals, businesses, charitable organizations, church organizations, community, school, and government organizations to all be involved to become, well, to deal with that issue and help reach that goal.
Now, I have to say, we're fortunate. We're fortunate because Sean understands the fact that we have to come together. We have to work in a collaborative fashion that's going to make everybody's efforts pay off. We can't do it individually. So, Sean, would you come up here and share your perspective on where we're headed?
Sure. Thanks, Art. Thanks for sticking around. I was waiting for everyone to get up and leave. My turn to speak. Thank you to the Richies for hosting us. What a great venue to be here.
Thanks for coming, Sean.
You know, Art tells a lot of people he moved to Salisbury, but I think he moved to right outside my office. I see Art quite a bit in City Hall. So, I mean, I spend most of my days thinking about, you know, how can we be more green? How can we be more green community? How can we be more resilient? How can we be a more sustainable community? And we try to have that lens over everything we do, right? So, I mean, I'm very lucky. I don't know if Molly's still here, but I mean, I get to work with Molly Ettenborough every day, our Director of Sustainability, Energy, and Recycling. And, I think we're seeing that, I mean, again, I'm just starting my 4th year here as mayor. Quick plug, we have the State of the City address on Wednesday, 7 o'clock at City Hall. If you'd like to come and hear me speak some more, or at least come hear the governor speak instead of me, or whatever, so we'd love to have you. But these are things that we're thinking about all the time. And I think we're so lucky here in Newburyport because we are, and you heard of pretty much everything tonight, but like we have so many good things happening already in Newburyport. We have the right people, the right expertise, and the right energy to move this forward. So, a lot of the things I like to say, and I think that's what that sign says as well. I do say collaboration is how difficult things get done, and I'm sure that you can add a word there or something in a second. But that is something we say a lot. And I also will say, like, and I said this a lot during the campaign, almost 4 years ago, is, good planning leads to good results as well. And I think, Ben just referenced a couple plans that we have here in Newburyport, but in this climate change world, the information that's out there changes so quickly too, right? So you do have to be able to adapt. So I mean, there was a massive effort, back in 2016 for the resiliency plan that got finished in 2020 in October and was released. And we have a wonderful resiliency committee that continues to try to drive that plan forward. The master plan in 2017, we're about due to kind of gear up for that. I said really nice things about you, and you stepped out, and it's just like unbelievable. It's okay. So we have these plans already in place, right? So like, what's the next step? When you look at these ambitious goals that have come down around, 2030, 2050, how do we push that work forward? And how do we be leaders on it? I think we have just such a wonderful opportunity. I mean, not just me, but everybody to be leaders on this moving forward. And how do we take that planning to the next step? So, I mean, I do want to start pushing forward an initiative around a sustainability plan. Not just for Newburyport, but I do think this needs to be a regional effort. I mean, we talked a little bit, Ben talked a little bit tonight about how we're trying to involve other communities. I think as we progress this year, I think this is the perfect year to start this year, but bring in those other communities. And I've been lucky, I've been able to work with those communities pretty closely on a lot of different issues the last few years. So, I mean, I have built some good relationships there. But, it's all the same ecosystem here, right? So, I mean, we can't just, once we hit the borderline of Newburyport to West Newbury or Newbury or Salisbury or Amesbury, it doesn't stop there, right? So if we can have a more collaborative effort, thinking about that mindset of sustainability moving forward and having some good solid plans in place, again, I think we're gonna leave that world better, that moral obligation that we have to leave this world a better place. Again, I have 3 kids that are growing up here, and I certainly want to leave Newburyport in a better place than I found it as well. So that's really all I have to say tonight. I mean, I hope that we do have the right people around the table and the right expertise. Like I said, we're so lucky to have that here in Newburyport, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities to get on board with this moving forward and be part of that planning process. So, thank you.
Thank you. Somebody might take a picture, right?
You gotta take a picture.
Can I see it first?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right.
It's been in my house, and it's been waiting for the most
Yeah. We want this
embarrassing
to
time to
put-
give it to you.
Raise it up, somebody take a picture, because this is going into Sean's office to replace the one that was on his whiteboard that got erased.
Right.
But now this is permanent. So, and it's in keeping with the spirit of why he had it up there.
Yeah.
All right, James, good in.
Show it to the camera there.
Okay, we're gonna show it to the camera.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And this one won't bend or do anything.
No, this is
weird.
good. Yeah, no,
It's nice and
no.
steady. Yeah.
As Sean said, the right people. So, and he's the right leader, right? But you were handed this with Ted, what we just went over on it, and the backside, it really has the ticket for the sustainability bus. Because as Sean just said, we would have the right people. We've got the right people in this room, and we have to have many, many more. And how are we gonna do that? To be determined, but we're gonna now go into get your perspective on 2 questions. And we're gonna sit at those round tables, and don't sit with somebody you would talk with all the time. Sit with somebody else if you would. The first question is, what is needed to have what Sean just presented as a collaborative, multi-community planning process that will focus on 2050. Your perspective is what is needed. And what we're gonna do is sit around those tables, and you're gonna select a person to be the facilitator, and you're gonna select this person to be the note taker, the note taker is going to report on the top 3 things that you decide on collectively, because it's collaborative. Each of us here, each of us in the world, has a moral obligation to contribute to the sustainability of our communities and the well-being of mental and physical well-being of future generations. And I think that's a pretty good summary of at least how we're operating, because I have to believe it resonates with you. We just need more people to understand that opportunity for them to make a contribution.
I've seen you around at various meetings. I know you've done a lot of amazing work for the city. And I just wanted to thank you. I live in Newburyport.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Right now,
Collaboration, we decided collaboration creates a culture that can disseminate a clear, concise, and consistent message. But we have to do it by building a diverse culture to create momentum that drives the change. So it's kind of sort of like that. But I like the minority. You're absolutely right. It's like a bunch of diverse minority people that have to become a majority.
So we ended up with the answer rather than the question. What we ended up talking about is the need to have some central repository or database or relational connectivity that identifies all of the folks that are involved in all of the environmental things. Good examples in the Unitarian Church in Newburyport. They're creating a database of all the native plant numbers throughout the adjoining areas, of all this group and that group, trying to get names and contact lists, what they do, with the idea that when collaboration is instinctively needed, there's a platform and a path and a tool to get that.
Act personally, organize regionally, multi-community organizations. So bringing local communities where you can ride your bike and talk to somebody, but you don't have to get on an airplane to go talk to them. So that kind of defines the scale. An example would be a Greater Newburyport model as a model hub of green businesses and organizations. So maybe all the Burys, B-U-R-Ys, get together and organize to try and address sustainability problems. And maybe that database idea is a great idea. So what does it take to get all the people on the bus? And that's the sustainability bus. Number one, develop a social media thing that you can send out there. So you get these mailing lists, you establish a communication system to get the word out. Okay, so and then so how do you get them on the bus? Communicate with them. Communications. You get the businesses involved. Get the city to publish its achievements. So we've got this blackbird. Well, how many tons did we keep out of the landfill last year? This anonymous when it goes up or something like this. Set a goal, but get the word out so that people feel good about it. Make it fun and make it rewarding. Rewarding in that they went from 170 pounds in 3 months to 390 pounds, whatever it was. That's pat on the back, rewarding. Make it easy. Make it easy. So I want to volunteer my time. I want to help. The announcement comes out, beach cleanup. You push the button, and boom. Show up here, wear boots, bring a bag. It's right there. So it's real easy. You go in there.